You were tuned in to week 1 of the Red and Blue Rivalry podcast.
My name is Eric Hernandez, welcoming all the 49er faithful.
And I am Philip Enriquez, welcoming all the fans of America's team. Thank you for joining us here on week 1 of the podcast, where we will primarily be talking about everything going on in the world of the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. And it is week 1 of the 2019 season, man. So I know we're both excited for both these teams. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to try to, not just relive some of the classic moments in the rivalry, but really start a new rivalry in 2019. And I'll start it off by saying, man, I got some high expectations for the Cowboys, and I hope we cross paths in the playoffs.
Yeah, that would be really nice, man. I mean, I really do think that we can take, as far as the 49ers, can take a lot of teams by surprise and actually win our division, at the very least make the playoffs. I mean, this for us is it right here. You got, Ezekiel Elliott signed and Jimmy Garoppolo's healthy. So there's no excuses for either one of these teams. This is make it or break it for these two teams. The Niners have to make the playoffs, in my opinion, and show that type of progress for them to justify everything they've done. And I mean, for Dallas, it's been Super Bowl or bust for the last couple of years.
I think for Garrett, he's going to have to make a Super Bowl if he wants to keep his job. I mean, the pieces are in place. Jerry spent his money. He signed Zeke. He signed Jalen Smith. He signed La'el Collins. And that offensive line is under contract for the foreseeable future. He's just got to get that Dak deal done, which I hear the rumblings now is that's priority. They're trying to make some progress to get it signed before the first game. So we'll see. But the money's being spent, and it's all on Garrett. It's all on Garrett.
So what did you think, real quick? What did you think of the La'el Collins signing? Because that kind of took me by surprise.
It did, because I was kind of expecting him to be one of the cap casualties after the season. And I expected them to try, maybe for the Cowboys, to try to go ahead and move Connor Williams to right tackle. And they drafted the rookie, Connor McGovern, and maybe he would take over the guard spot. But you know what? La'el Collins is still an upper-tier tackle. And from what I understand, La'el Collins kind of took his cue from Jalen Smith and went to the Cowboys front office and said, I want to be here. I want to be here. You guys have done right by me. I want to do right by you. And they worked out a deal that was team-friendly. So I'm happy because I think La'el Collins is worth that kind of money. I know he would have got way more on the open market.
I know that that offensive line signed through 2023, I think. Or
a lot of the players are signed to 2023. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that offensive line is there. Zeke's there.
Yeah, the $90 million man.
Yeah, your defense. I mean, the two big players. I mean, Jalen Smith and,
Van Der Esch on his rookie deal.
DeMarcus Lawrence got his money.
Lawrence got his money, right.
So what are some of the, we've talked about these contracts and them kind of getting everything squared away. What are some of the positives that you're looking for this team? The whole, what you're looking for the season?
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to in 2019 is just to see if this defense can truly become an elite defense. I think the pieces are there. I think the front seven, there's a lot of depth on the front. I think the linebackers are awesome. I think they're top tier. I think arguably they're possibly the best linebacking duo in the NFL. Again, the back side of that defense has a lot to prove, but there's still some good young players that have flashed. And, I'm just hoping they can show that to the rest of the NFL. Outside of the Cowboys fan base, who's starting to grow confidence in some of those DBs back there.
Yeah, I mean, you see that they've this is probably one of the more talented Cowboys rosters that there's been in a while. And you're looking at that, so, that's good, I feel like, for you guys. But what are some things that maybe you're concerned about or you're not so sure about, things that may worry you, things that if this season doesn't go the way you want will probably be because these things happen or these worries came to fruition?
If things don't go to plan, then Sean Payton may be our head coach next year. So that's not necessarily a bad thing if we're looking that far ahead. But this season, man, I mean, what worries me and what I'm not really looking too far ahead. I just want to make that playoff run. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's that simple.
Well, if this season they don't make the playoffs, what do you think would cause that? What's the issue besides injuries? If we took injuries out of the thing, what could be? Could it be, Zeke not,
this team shouldn't miss the playoffs, man.
Yeah.
That's It'd be a huge disappointment to be.
What about Dak just doesn't take that next step? Like what are those things? What do you think about when you think about Dak and his ability to take that next step? I mean, he looked good that his rookie year when I think people weren't ready for him, and Zeke was tearing it up. He had trouble the next year. He did okay. And then they started 3-5, and Amari Cooper kind of bailed him out. Now you want to see if you can take that kind of momentum and extend it to a whole season.
Yeah, but there wasn't a lot of weapons for him early on in the season last year. When you look at the receiving core, it is leaps and bounds better this season than last season. Our best wide receiver was Cole Beasley, who's a slot receiver. Then we had guys like Allen Hurns. We had guys that are like, I don't even think they're on NFL rosters, filling out the depth. Now you're looking at Amari Cooper, big time upgrade. Then you're looking at Michael Gallup, who I think is probably the breakout player for the Cowboys this year. I think he's really going to be a solid number 2 option where, he might even be somebody that could be considered a number 1 on a lesser team, a less talented team. You got Randall Cobb. He can play inside. He can play outside. He brings that veteran leadership. And, you have Tavon Austin, who's more of a gadget guy, but he brings that speed. He's not an every down wide receiver, but, he can run those specialty plays. And you got depth. I mean, there's weapons. Witten's back. Reliable as ever, I think, in the short passing game. So there's no excuse for this team, man. There's none. Like, I mean, you tell me, what do you think the weakness is out on the outside looking in? Because I'm in here and I don't see a huge glaring weakness on this squad.
I still need to see Dak do it. Like, teams are now, like, you took them by surprise that first year. And then you have the second year with Zeke and everything. But I just feel like, they're going to start to say, okay, Dak, we're going to play man. We're going to put a guy in the box. You need to show that you can consistently make tight window throws. You don't hold on to the ball. You don't take sacks. He is my question, and your secondary. I mean, your defense also, I mean, it's the same defense you're returning from last year, for the most part. And then in that playoff game, the Rams just ran left, right, center, up the middle on you guys, and it was not pretty. And you look at what the Rams did, I mean, a lot of teams are going to look at that and say, oh, we can do that. I mean, they didn't have this great running back. It was, what was it, Anderson? I forget the running back who did it. C.J. Anderson, excuse me. And it wasn't like it was Gurley it was just run left, run right at your linebackers. And they were able to do that. Guys like, if you're competing, the Saints, Sean Payton's looking at that. Doug Peterson's looking at that. If you're thinking of, winning the team, winning this, the division, making a playoff run, those are things that they have to show they can improve, because it wasn't just our offense, but no, they ran on your defense.
Oh yeah. That was the Achilles heel there was that run defense in the playoffs.
So being able to, and that was when you had Jalen Smith and Larry Van Der Esch. I mean, it's not like you guys upgraded there. These guys have to kind of take that step and show they can handle that. So from on the outside, the way I look at it is, does Dak regress? Do defenses adjust, and Dak still the guy kind of looking around, trying to make a play, taking a sack, and are you able to run on that defense?
Well, Collins, I think, got a sack on him.
Yeah, when your own team gets a sack on you, that's not great.
Yeah. I mean, I just have high expectations for the Cowboys going into 2019.
This is that time, though.
Bust. It is, and so, honestly, like I said, those are concerns. It's a possibility, but when you look at the talent, man, the talent's there, and I can match that up with anybody in the NFL. It's the way I feel.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's what you got to look at, because I think, they are one of the more talented teams in the NFL. With Dallas, I've always felt like it's never been about talent. It's never been about below the neck. It's always been about above the neck. As a franchise, feels like forever is, can you put 2 good seasons together? Can you make the playoffs in back-to-back seasons? Because they haven't done that in quite a while.
A long time, man. Since 06, 07, I believe. So... yeah, I mean, that's definitely the challenge. Make the playoffs back-to-back. You want to get into these games of the week for week 1?
Yeah, when I look at what these 2 games represent, it's really kind of, for you guys, I look at it like, affirmation. For us, it's more time to prove something.
Yeah.
when I look at that. And when I look at the Niners, and just really quick, the way I look at them is that this for me is the time where we silence just not even the haters. We just silence the questions. They end this year. The questions from top down for the Niners.
Good and bad.
They get answered.
Okay.
Is Kyle Shanahan a head coach? Is he not just an offensive coordinator? That gets answered. And of course, I'm going to say positively. That gets answered. He is a head coach. Is Garoppolo not just a one-year wonder? That gets answered. No, he is a top quarterback in this league. Has John Lynch put together a roster that can win? Yes. All these questions that have come out since like the middle of the season, they get ended this year. At the end of this year, everyone's going to say, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl or they're going to play in the end, but those questions end this year. And they end positively for the Niners. If you're a Niners fan, they all end positively. I look at Garoppolo. If you were to take those 6 plays in Denver, you couple them with the plays in Kansas City, that's not a bad altogether. You put it all together. I think their running game looks great. I look at their defense. Their defensive line is amazing. I look at the front seven are amazing. I like the run. There's no great wide receiver, but I feel like there's enough guys that can make a play. There's no guy you go to, but there's guys that can make a play, get the ball in their hand. So, I just think this is going to be one of those games that's like, it's one of those seasons where it's going to be fun to watch if you're a Niners fan. As far as the games, man, let's start with you. You're going to, the Giants are coming to Big D. They're coming to Jerry World,
They're
and
coming to get their ass kicked.
it always seems like when you think that that's going to happen, though, the Giants seem to play you guys close. They always seem, Eli, for better or worse, he may not beat you guys, but he always keeps it close. I don't remember Eli really getting blown out by Dallas too many times.
Dallas really doesn't blow out anybody. And really, it's rare when they do. You kind of remember the blowouts that they have or have had because they're rare. But look, the New York Giants, they're going with Eli Manning. Where's Eli Manning gotten them the last couple of years?
Nowhere.
Okay, and so why should I fear this team? They're a one-man show. Everybody talks about the Cowboys. Oh, Zeke is the man. He's the engine. He's this. He's that. Stop Zeke and you stop the Cowboys. What do you think Saquon Barkley is? He's the one and only thing on that team that can possibly beat you. That's it. He's going to challenge the linebacker. I think the biggest matchup to look for is going to be those linebackers on Saquon. I think the Giants are going to want to try to get that matchup with the linebackers, get them into space, have him in the flats, chase him down the field. He's going to challenge the defense on all 3 levels of the field. And as long as the Cowboys linebackers are up to it, there's no way this Giants team is going to put tons of points on the board against Dallas.
No, but the thing is, I also wonder too, is that, we saw a little bit of a microcosm, with the Green Bay game and how Aaron Rodgers looked at the beginning of the game and how he looked a little off because he's learning a new system. And I think what wrinkles and what system that you have from your new offensive coordinator, I know he was there, but this is his system now. This is him. This isn't Linehan. So I always wonder if, like, the first game, maybe they're a little, Zeke, trying to work Zeke back in.
I don't think Zeke's going to have a ton of touches.
No, see, that's my thing, too, is that I think you're trying to work Zeke in. You're trying to bring in a new system. And I think that's going to cause some things where I don't think you guys are going to lose, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time for that. That's why I say the way I picture this game is, it's close. New York maybe be up 3, 17-14, and then Dallas goes down the ball.
Who's going to catch the ball for the Giants?
Who knows? Saquon Barkley,
yeah,
Evan
exactly.
Ingram.
He's going to have to do everything.
But I think they can get, and I still think that Dallas's offense is going to take a little while to catch traction. I don't know if I believe in Jason Witten as much as you do. I don't.
I believe in Jason Witten to do Jason Witten things, which is when we need a 3rd and 5, he's going to get it for us. I'm not saying he's going to get you anything else or do anything.
I don't know if
he's not going to get you 1,500 yards, but
I don't know, man. I still don't think that I would trust them to really. I'm not worried about him. He's never going to be on. He was when I used to see him. I'm like, okay, yeah, you got to keep an eye out for him, but I don't think I have to worry too much, about him now. It's just that Dallas, when I look at them, I still think it's going to take them time to put that offense together. I think they will get rolling. They'll be fine in the long run. But I think I can easily see this game being tied in the 4th quarter because they're still putting together theirs. The Giants are doing great, but like Saquon can get a little bit. And then I picture Zeke running from 10 yards out.
I can see it being a one-score game, the picture you're painting, but I see Dallas being firmly in control.
Yeah.
I don't ever see them being like, oh, man, we're going to let this one slip through our fingers here.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't see that.
That's why I said I feel like when it's time for them to make a play and get points, I think they'll be able to get points.
They'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
There's just too many weapons. And out on the Giants defense, the only player that I know of as a playmaker is Ogletree at the linebacker spot. I know he's always around the ball, and I think he had 5 interceptions last season.
Can you believe they passed on Josh Allen? You have no pass rush.
Well, Daniel Jones.
You mean Trubisky? Daniel Trubisky?
Maybe. I don't know.
Man, I remember, I'll tell you this.
It's hard to say, man.
I remember this. I remember watching Trubisky's preseason, and people are like, oh my God, look at him. Look at him. Look at him. He can make the throws. Look at him on the move. It's the same things they said about Daniel Jones. It's the same things they said. Go watch preseason on Mitchell Trubisky's first year and go watch Daniel Jones. You'll be like, oh, yeah, they're both destined for greatness. This is Brady Peyton 2. And then we just watched what that really looks like when you have NFL teams with NFL defenses. And that's why I think Daniel Jones. So, I look at it like this. Eli's probably right now no better than Daniel. Daniel Jones is going to be deer in the headlights if they start him against the Cowboys because you have DeMarcus Lawrence. There's no way.
Manning take those hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I agree with you today. I think that the Dallas Cowboys win this game 17-14, 21-14 around there. Yeah. 21-13 like that. They'll win pretty. Yeah. But then we had, and then I got the Niners and they're heading to Tampa and I don't feel as confident only because we are if this was in Santa Clara, I'd feel a lot better. But this is going to Tampa across the weather, East Coast time. We got the news today that Nick Bosa will play. Will he start? I don't know. Will he play a lot? I'm not sure. I think that the plan is, from what I can tell, is to have him come in on passing downs to kind of your front four is going to be, D Ford.
Is that just a conditioning thing?
Yeah, that's just he hasn't practiced. That knee, you just want to make sure it's a high ankle sprain. So you're kind of, the fact that he's even playing is kind of shocking to me because people are talking about 6 weeks and that was a month ago. Yeah. And now he's fine. So, I look at it when I look at that game, I think that at the end of the day, I've got Jimmy and Kyle Shanahan against that inexperienced secondary. I mean, they have 2 interceptions in their whole career in that secondary. Their starting safety's out, I think, suspended. They have their other safety didn't practice. I think his name is Justin Evans, if I remember correctly. Their secondary is learning a new system under Todd Bowles, which is completely different than what it was under, I think Mike Smith was the defensive coordinator for Tampa before. And, I think Jimmy and Kyle Shanahan are going to kind of be able to move the ball, play action, put those corners in coverage. I was listening to some podcasts, and they've had guys on from Tampa, 49ers podcast, where Tampa guys come on.
Yeah.
And they'll talk about things, and, you hear a lot about Devin White, their linebacker they drafted, and how he kind of still has a little issues in coverage. I mean, he's a great athlete and a great run stopper, but, I feel confident that we can run the ball, we can move the ball. And on defense, man, it's our defensive line, which is that's the whole point of the Niners defense is everything was based off that defensive line against the Tampa Bay offensive line that's not very impressive. So I predict that that's going to be, we're going to move the ball. We're going to get touchdowns. I think Jameis and them will be able to move the ball. They'll get some touchdowns because I think he has the ability to make big plays too. You still have Mike Evans, and Mike Evans kind of eats against Richard Sherman. So, I think that game's going to be, 24-21 Niners. Really? Yes. I think, or 24-17. I think that, Jameis, he's going to loft that ball up there and sometimes you just have to throw it up, and you have Mike Evans, and they'll get some plays on us. I don't doubt that. But if he has to continuously do it, and he's got 2 seconds because Bosa is bearing down, DeForest's bearing down, DeForest Buckner's bearing down, that's going to be hard. It's a tall task for him.
So win, lose, or draw, it sounds like you're really focused on how well that defensive line creates pressure.
Yeah.
I think going forward, forget wins or losses, but like a positive. Hey.
You want to see what that could do, because we talked about in our picks. You made you talked about how you want to see the Browns. You want to see them beat the Titans. Right. Okay, well, it's in the same aspect. You're supposed to be. You're all first round picks. I expect you to go dominate a sub-average offensive line. You should eat against that offense, because if you can't do anything against that offensive line and Jameis is carving you up, what are you going to do when the Steelers come around, or the Saints or the Falcons who have better offensive lines than the Bucks. You know,
Right.
if you can't eat against them, you're in deep shit.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, they should show up.
And I think when push comes to shove, I expect, win because it's going to be hard. I mean, you get 2 games. You have, here they go to Tampa and they go to Cincinnati, but then you have the Steelers, get your bye, and you get Cleveland. Those aren't going to be easy games. So you want to get your wins where you can get them.
Yeah.
This is a winnable game. And I do expect them to come out to put everything together and to win. It may not be pretty. You'll see some bad Garoppolo throws. You'll see some breakdowns in coverage, but I think
expect some rust on Garoppolo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I think he'll shake it off. You'll see a little bit of the Denver game and a little bit of the Kansas City game. It's just which more do you see of? And, I like Breida to kind of run the crazy, Coleman. And at the end of the day, I think their running game, their play action, and their front four is going to seal this victory for them.
Yeah, I picked San Francisco in the weekly picks. I expect Frisco to be able to get that pressure on Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's line is nothing to write home about. I do think Jameis potentially can have problems if you don't get to him, but if you keep the pressure on him, he's going to give you 1 or 2.
Yeah, he'll fall.
He'll turn over the ball, whether it's on a sack fumble or an interception.
Yeah, he'll throw it up.
Yeah, I see that. Even though the game's in Tampa, and yeah, I am kind of scared about Evans because, I mean, you throw it up to him and he could just yank that thing out of the sky.
Yeah, he's probably one of my favorite wide receivers to watch. Like,
Yeah.
I would love, if they bomb and he was up for sale, I'd be like, yeah, I'll give you a first-round pick for that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's awesome.
Yep.
So potentially they could wreck the game for the Niners, but outside of that, there's nobody on Tampa Bay
No, I'm not worried
that's
about.
gonna make you lose sleep, man.
No.
So yeah, I think the Niners should take that game as well, probably in a close one. So hopefully our 2 teams here can
Get it started on the right way.
get started on the right track, get themselves some wins, and hopefully next week we'll be in a good mood. And,
You'll tell real quick.
Riding some momentum into week 2, man.
Yep.
So until next time, I am Philip Enriquez. This is Eric Hernandez. You've been listening to the Red and Blue Rivalry podcast. We'll be back next week with some more 49ers and Cowboys crosstalk.